Good morning. We are live finally at last.
Good
So
morning.
thank you. Thanks to the wonders of technology. Yes. Good morning. Good morning, Nikki.
Yes.
Thanks to the wonders
Good
of
morning.
technology, we're able to connect today. And technology is wonderful. It has its glitches, but we keep moving on. And I'm just
Yes.
thankful that we can have this conversation today. So
So
first of
am
all,
I.
I want to say happy social work. Good. All
Happy
right.
Social Work
I think we've got a
Month.
little
Yay.
delay, so I'll have to keep
Okay.
happy social work month.
Yes.
Um, I am Sonia Folayan, and uh, I'm really delighted today to have this conversation with Nicki Sanders, who's a leadership consultant. This is the YouTube channel Mind and Manna, and on this channel, I really center the voices of Black women 55 and older who really want to have more money for their years to come, who want to increase their cash flow.
Okay.
Um, and I'm really delighted to be able to have this. This is a safe space for us to talk about our issues and to really address some of the issues that are inherent in the wealth and income gap that's in our communities right now. What I would like to ask you is if this topic sounds of interest to you, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell so you can find out when I have other interesting topics to come up. With that being said, I really want to focus now on Nikki's. I've admired her work for so long in this field, and it's just a delight to be able to talk with you. Nikki, what? First of all, welcome.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Thank you. Can you just begin and tell us a little bit about yourself and the career that you've carved out over how many years? Um,
Yes.
yeah, I think that's a good place to start.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you again for having me. I'm excited to be here. So I 30 years in, right? 30 years into this thing. I knew that I wanted to go into social work as a high school senior. And so I went into social work very specifically to support teen moms in foster care. That was my purpose, that was my goal. And I went into undergraduate as a social work major. Life happened. And I ended up transferring to a different university, becoming a mom, and really going into sociology. Well, my degree was in sociology, but I went back to the work that I loved, which was working with teen moms in a residential program. And so from there, I really stayed with the target audience of women and girls, but in various capacities. So I've worked in residential programs, I've worked in school based programs, community based programs. I've worked with pregnancy prevention and teen moms. I have also worked in public health, not just around teen pregnancy prevention, but also vision health. And in the midst of all those things, I have also become an adjunct professor, taken part in various community projects, and also become an entrepreneur. So I have been able to use my social work skills over the last 30 years to really do exactly what I set out to do as an employee. And now, what I'm doing, my pivot, is really taking those skills and using them as an entrepreneur. So, as a leadership consultant, doing organizational development and organizational wellness, but also as a career coach. And I work with women of color, but Black women definitely, women of color in social work leadership, to advance their careers, to accelerate their careers on their own terms. So that's what's most important to me, is that we get to take this education, this training, these skills, and use them for ourselves, define social work for ourselves, and carve out the life and the career path that works best for us, because that is what has worked for me, not without, some bumps in the road. But definitely, I understand the power that we have, and I'm on a mission to get us to harness that power.
Well, I love that. There's so many, there's a lot of overlap in terms of our mission and what we, what we are about. I'll share a
Yes.
little bit about myself. I don't really have not really talked a lot about my background here, but I'm actually 50 years in. I started my social work career as an intern in undergrad
Okay.
school.
Right.
And then I went to grad school, and I started out working. I started out in social services as an intern, and I
Mhm.
knew from that experience that I did not want to work in that environment. So
Absolutely.
I was for, but I started out my career moved to community service uh, therapy, uh,
Hmm.
working with families. I became a licensed family and therapy, licensed marriage and family therapist, and then a licensed clinical social worker. Because when I started, it wasn't required to have a social work license at that time.
Right. Right.
Um, I started as an entrepreneur very early on. I'm so sorry. I started
No
as an
problem.
entrepreneur kind of very early on because I did not want to be limited to the
Hmm.
pay limitations that I saw
Yes.
in the agencies that I worked for. So I
Yes.
went on there, did employee assistance work, worked with impaired airline pilots and surgeons and executives who had drug
Yes.
and alcohol problems. And from
Hmm.
there, I went to the domestic violence field, worked in
Yeah.
outpatient hospitals, did private practice for many years. So entrepreneurship was a vehicle for me, and I made the
Yes.
decision to work part time so that I could build my business and also focus on my children and my art.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
between the two of us, there's just a wide skill set that has
Yes.
served us well to be able to help us to craft the lives that have been important to us. And that is
Absolutely.
what I work with as a cash flow coach now, because
Yes.
as a financial social,
Hmm.
working with at this particular stage of life, midlife,
Right.
to look at the opportunities that are available to us, not the limitations that are available.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And I'm glad you said that. And sorry about the airplane. Um, but I think that we have been educated and trained to accept bare minimum, right? This is what is offered to
Mhm.
you. And because you have a good heart, you should take that. Um, and there are so many limitations. So, as a macro social worker, I went into macro social work versus clinical social work because I did not want to have those limitations. I knew that there was more opportunity around program development and program management. I didn't have to have a social work license. Um, and I really did things on my own terms. So I waited 7 years between my undergraduate and graduate degree to even enroll in graduate school. And then
Mhm.
it took me 3.5 years to graduate because I went to school part time and worked full time. And so there's noise happening. If you can see behind me, I am on a farm right now, which is the other part of my pivot. Um, I really wanted to use my macro social work skills to help local farmers and ultimately purchase land and build an intergenerational community. So this is also a pivot for me. I'm only here part time. There's lots of things happening, building a barn. All those things are happening right now. Um, but this was a way for me to contribute, but also a way for me to learn about gardening and agriculture and community development in a new way. We're offering health education programs, bringing in interns, and still using my education and training and leadership and supervision skills for this. And I think that's really important when we think about career pivots is we're not starting from scratch. We're not starting over. We're not starting at the bottom. We have so many transferable skills, not just social work skills, just other skills in general. Black women have been leading forever, right? And so we have always carved out what leadership means to us at home, in our communities, in our churches, in our children's schools, and really taken non-traditional approaches to leadership when oftentimes we were shut out of traditional leadership. And so sometimes we've had to lead without the title, right? Many of us have been the go-to girl. Um, and what I say today is it's time for us to go from being the go-to girl, where we're solving all the problems, people can depend on us, there's a lot of self-sacrifice, to being the well-paid woman. It's time to be the well-paid woman, and prioritize ourselves, prioritize our careers. And that is one of the things that really excited me about talking to you, our own connections, but also sharing that mission and message of we get to prioritize ourselves. We get to choose ourselves at this stage in life after making so many other things a priority.
I couldn't have said it any better. It's so true. I mean, we have so much in common. I have an
Yes,
agricultural background as well, and
yes,
that was part of one of the decisions that I made in a doctoral program was to um, do program development around agriculture because of uh, the need for women to be able to have stable food supplies within their households,
yes,
and how that was so connected to mental health.
yes,
Um, and the other decision that I made after going through the whole thing, because like I said, I'm 50 years in,
right,
I decided that that macro social work was the way for me as well. I started out,
yes,
with case uh, direct service, but I really began to understand that for me, it was important to my time into prevention.
yes,
That by the time we get into therapy, we've wasted some time. Prevention is
yes,
the key for me,
yes,
and helping women, Black women, to really begin to capitalize on these moments of change that are in our lives.
hmm,
There are certain
yes,
times when the stars align and we can make those pivots. We can do that reinvention and really start to command what it is that we want and deserve for our lives. And
yes,
I'm really excited to see Black women saying, enough.
yes,
I've volunteered enough.
yes,
I've served on these committees enough. Um,
yes.
you know, I volunteered at an HBCU for 7 years. I
Wow.
believed what I was doing,
Right.
but teaching and grading papers and designing curriculum, all that's well and good. But we do deserve to have what we need to sustain ourselves for the lives that we want to live. And
Yes.
that's, I think, it's so important. And I'm glad
It's
to see that we're doing that.
yes. I love that so many women are deciding that enough is enough. And this change, I've been saying for years, you can't from an empty cup. Now we all hear that, we all say that. Um, but I did
Mhm.
that for so long, right? We've done that for so long. We've been operating on fumes. We've been pouring into everyone else, and no one is pouring back into us. So I did experience compassion fatigue. I did experience professional burnout. In addition to staying at, a job for over a decade where, my salary was quote unquote good, right? But it was not what I could command had I not just followed my heart, but also followed my bank account. Um, and so there are things that we miss out on because we're giving and giving and giving. And it really is time for us to give to ourselves. But also it's Women's History Month just as well as Social Work Month. And so being that
Yeah.
example to the next generation that we don't have to do things the same way anymore, right? We can lead differently, we can live differently. I'm so excited to be planning to come see you there in Mexico. um, and be around so many women who are living life on their terms. You know, my word for this year is authenticity. So I'm like, here's me. It's all of me. You get me. You know, after putting ourselves in these boxes or trying to put ourselves in these boxes for so long,
Mhm.
trying to fit into other people's limitations, to our own detriment, right? That's just the truth. It was to our own detriment, whether that means we didn't get promoted, whether that means we didn't get the salary, whether that means we didn't get the visibility. We have sacrificed for so long that it really became commonplace. But being overworked is not a badge of honor, right? We don't need to pass that on to the next generation. And after working so hard and supporting so many people, it's time for us to give ourselves what we've given to everyone else. So what I say is no one needs me as much as I need me. So no one needs you as much as need you. You need you. So you have to be your priority, at this stage, because I plan on living another 50 years. So so
Yes.
I've said to everyone, like, you are invited to my 100th birthday. Um,
Yes.
so, you know, the next 50 years will look very different. And not that life was bad, just the next 50 years will be very different. You know, giving birth, my daughter has been alive more than half of my life. So caring for someone else, and then going into social work where you're consistently being told to do for other people. Um, there was a time that, in truth, I was so tired that I would pray for a red light just so I could close my eyes for a few seconds. No one should be that tired. But I was the go to girl. I got everything done at work. People could depend on me more than I could depend on myself. And those days are over, right? We have to do for ourselves.
We have to do for ourselves. And the second half of our lives, if we allow it and if we're open, can be even greater than the first
Yes,
half. You know,
yes,
I saw I had a brief conversation this morning. I have a group of sister cousins. We're all first cousins. My
yes,
mother was one of 11, so there are a lot of us cousins.
yes,
And the phrase was greater later, greater later.
yes,
The best is yet to be if we are open,
yes,
open to that. You know.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, I'm excited. There was a freedom that turning 40 I experienced, right? There was this freedom. It was like a magic switch. And now, as I, am 30 plus days away from turning 50, there is such a new level of freedom and authenticity that I would say. And what would I have done if I had felt this way 30 years ago? Who knows? But it is definitely something that I am very committed to sharing with other women, because we have the skills, because we have the education, we have the connections. Truthfully, we really do have the connections, and sisterhood is extremely important to me. And so when women get together and really support and empower each other, we know that the world changes. And so I'm excited about what is next, not just for me, but for us in general.
As am I, and
Yes.
you know, I look back on the days when I was 50.
Yes.
I look back then,
Yes.
and I can honestly say that it gets better.
Yes.
Yes, it gets better.
Yes.
The wisdom and the knowledge and the confidence that you
Hmm.
have
Yes.
from knowing what all that you've done,
Hmm.
all
Yes.
that you have possessed, all the people you've poured into,
Yes.
the programs you've created, the
Yes.
change that you've been able to see that you've been a part of.
Yes.
Um, so I'm working now with a number of women who are really considering their options in terms of
Okay.
how they want to take a sojourn. They want to take an
Yes.
extended break from what they have been doing. And I am encouraging people to, if you're used to taking 2 weeks off, take four. If you're used to
Yes.
having a month off, had to take 2 months off
Right.
because I think it's important to have a different experience that unmoors you from what you're accustomed to. And
Yes.
once you're unmoored from that experience, then you're able to really shift one's perspective.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and also part of the trend now, especially after the pandemic, and people were forced to reevaluate their relationship with work.
Mm. Yes.
I don't want to be in traffic anymore.
No.
I don't want to be waiting
No.
in long lines. I don't
No.
want to go to the office when I don't feel good. I
Absolutely.
don't want to have to choose between. So I think that has been a catalyst also for women,
Yes.
and especially Black women, because we were really
Yes.
affected by the pandemic, to
Absolutely.
consider what else is available for me? What else can I craft?
Yes.
So, and also thinking about their relationship with the United States. It has not
Hmm.
been a positive one. It's been an abusive
No.
relationship.
Yes. Yes.
So, thinking about even leaving the United States and going someplace
Yeah.
else where I don't have to work so hard, where I'm not under the same kind of stress, where my dollar
Yes.
can go farther, where I
Yes.
can learn something new, where I can be
Hmm.
appreciated for who I am.
Yes.
Um, and with that comes a certain amount of fear. I don't know if I'm gonna, how am I gonna do it? What am I gonna do for
Right.
work? So what advice would you give women who are really thinking about
Right.
where they are in terms of their reinvention journey, their transformational
Right.
journey, but they're just not sure how they're going to put it together and have the courage to do what they
Yeah.
need to do? What would you say to them?
I think there's the main thing is getting that clarity. Clarity, not just where am I going, what am I doing, but also that I deserve it, right? So let's start there, right? You deserve exactly what you want, exactly what you desire. Where you go and how you get there, is important. But first, we have to kind of hug and love on ourselves a little bit, because that
Mm-hmm.
environment that we've grown up in has been harsh. We've been looking over our shoulders, we've been stressed out, we've gotten terrible health care, all of those things. So I think it starts
All
with
those.
knowing that you deserve it, know that you're valuable, and just preparing yourself. So that clarity also includes knowing what you have to offer, right? So we're not starting over. You have transferable skills, you have work experience. Many of us, went to remote work during the pandemic. So we
Mm-hmm.
know that there is a different way to work. We don't just need it. Now we've seen that we can actually do that. So getting that clarity around, here are my skills, this is my value, this is what I have to offer, this is what I'm willing to accept is important. And sister friends are important, connecting. As I'm thinking, am I taking this trip on my own? I was able to connect with you. So sisterhood, I say sisterhood is self-care, right? Sisterhood is self-care. So reaching out to your connections, to those other sisters who have done what you want to do, and even if they haven't, that they are supportive of you, not allowing other people's fears and limitations to hold you back. So sometimes we have to distance ourselves from a few people. It may not be permanent, it may just be in this moment, right? This is where I'm
Right.
going, and we're in a different place. And so once you kind of have your support system in place, and of course, we're always prepared, right? So do what we do. We plan, we prepare. So do your research, because that research will eliminate some of your fears, right? So
Yes.
sometimes they say plan for, the best, but prepare for the worst. I don't believe that. I think we plan for the best
Mm-hmm.
and prepare for the best. But also we know how to take care of people, and we know how to take care of ourselves. And sometimes it's just believing that I can do this, for me. So the research on where am I going, how much money do I need, what do I need to get there, having that plan of, if this, I can do this thing, but I can also do that thing. You had social work, you're, an artist, so you have a variety of skills. And some of us are writers, and some of us are, great at taking care of people. I have a client who is now a nanny, but that being a nanny is allowing her to develop her business because she has that time and she loves kids. And so it is where, how do I create the income that I need? But the truth is, the income is often less of what you need than if you stay here, right? It's expensive to live here, and definitely in metropolitan areas. It's very expensive. And so sometimes it's just knowing I don't need as much money as I thought I did. I'm sorry, there's another airplane. I don't need as much money as I thought I did. Or what are the things that I can live without? I don't have to have all these work clothes anymore. So maybe I can sell some of those clothes and that's additional income. How do I want to eat? Do I want to go out to dinner, or do I want to now, get into my passion of cooking healthy meals, prioritizing my health care overall, my health and wellness overall. So I would definitely say get clarity, but also get the knowledge and get the research done, because for us, we still need the research and the knowledge in order to feel prepared.
And also invest in hiring a coach. We're
Yes,
coaches.
definitely.
So
Yes.
invest in
Get
hiring
that
us. It's
support.
money.
Yes. Get
Yes,
that
it's
support.
money well spent. I have a coach.
So do
I
I.
have two coaches,
So do I.
you know.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but that making that investment in self,
Hmm.
choosing
Yes.
self
Yep.
is so
Yep.
vitally
It
important. It
is.
is.
It is. It is. It is. And make that investment. And as you say, I've had coaching for years before I became a coach, right? I had a coach. And so having that support, that expert, that person who can help you navigate those feelings and those emotions, and who may have gone through what you're already going through. So for me, it's easier for me to coach women in leadership because I've spent, 15 years in social work administration, but also knowing that I gave so much of myself that I burned myself out. So I can see it in my clients, like, wait, there's the red light. Let's stop here,
Right.
and make some changes. And so when I talk about defining social work career success on your own terms, it is, am I following someone else's path or am I following my own path? Because sometimes we have to
Yes.
unlearn and let go of other people's ideas, goals, dreams, wishes. On the outside, it looked like I had everything that I needed, but on the inside, I was exhausted, um,
Yes.
and starting to feel sad. And when I felt the sadness, come in, because I felt like I was putting a band aid on these horrible situations. Um, I really had to go inward and say, what am I doing? Who am I really supporting? Who am I really helping? And although I loved the work, I really had to choose me, right? So for me, my self care included a letter of resignation. I had to leave. And so what I said to my staff at the time is, I was staying for you, but now I have to leave for me. And
Oh,
sometimes we just have to choose ourselves.
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I think also what I'm hearing in what you said is know there are certain times in our lives when the stars align for
Yes.
us to transform,
Yes.
um, and to pay attention to those signs. There are certain
Yes.
times in life when the path is going to be much easier, and we
Yes.
should take advantage of those
Take
times.
advantage of it. Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
literally how I got here, right? Is really paying attention. We have intuition, right? We know, um, when things are right. Oftentimes we know when things are right. Sometimes we have to tell us, it's too good to be true. No, it's not too good to be true, because you deserve it all to be good and true. And be willing to take that leap of faith. And sometimes when you can't take a big leap, you have to take a small step. So celebrating your small wins, your successes, giving yourself credit for the things that you have done, and knowing that that same success can be transformed and transferred into the next level of your life, or the next phase of your life. Yeah.
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
It's worth
It's
it.
worth it. It's worth it. Yes.
And we're worth it. And if listening
Yes.
to this broadcast, know that you are worth it.
You
You're
are
worth
worth
it.
it.
Choose you.
Choose
Choose
you.
yourself at this
Yep.
very important, pivotal, pivotal
Pivotal.
time of life. Choose
Yeah.
yourself.
Yes. Yes.
So, Nikki, I
Absolutely.
just thank you so much for being here. I am
Thank
so
you.
excited about your coming
Yes.
to
Yes.
San Diego.
So am
So
I.
excited about this.
Yes. So am I. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been amazing. And I will see you soon.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Peace.
you.
And thank you so much. It was wonderful seeing you
Thank
today.
you. You as well. Thank you.
Happy Social Work Month. Happy Women's History
Yes.
Month.
Yes, all those things. Happy Social Work Month,
Okay.
Happy Women's History Month. Oh, I do want to say, you can also, reach out to me at nikkisanders.com or
Yes.
Nicki Sanders CEO on social media. I would love to connect and be able to, support and share in that sisterhood. Definitely. Yes. All right.
Beautiful. All right.
Thank
Looking forward to seeing
you.
you soon,
You as
Nikki.
well. Thank you. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye bye.